Hi, Martin here. Today I'm going to show you how to change out your spark plugs on your 4.7 liter Dodge, Jeep, and the Mitsubishi motor. This will be typical for any 99 through '07 4.7 liter. In '08 and up they went to the dual spark plugs per cylinder, and that changed things just a little bit on the install. According to owner's manual, you need to change out your spark plugs every 30,000 miles or every 48,000 kilometers. I have the standard 4.7 liter motor here, and it just it recommends like a copper plus type plug, which is the one I always go with. I don't go with none of the fancy tritiums and all that kind of plugs. If you do have the HO motor from '02 to '04, that motor does take a platinum plug. Alright, let's get started. Now, to get to these spark plugs, there's a ignition coil sitting on top of each one that we'll have to remove. First we got to make some room, and we need to remove the factory silencer box, your air silencer box. Now, on mine, of course, this is different. I have the air boxes totally removed. I have an air ram system here, and on your stock one you have an air tube right here. Go ahead, you need to remove that, and then this air silencer box right here. It will take either an 8 or a 10 millimeter right here. There's one on each side. Alright, now disconnect this hose right here, and then behind, right back here, we got a hose clamp. That is a 5/16, or you can use a regular screwdriver, will work just as fine. Loosen that clamp, and now you're prepared to pull the air box off. On your air box, you will not have these drain lines that I do. Now, I like putting a rag in here. We're going to be taking this compressed air and cleaning this out in here. We don't want to get any foreign material down inside of our cylinders. Here we got our ignition coils right here, 4 on each side. We start by disconnecting them simply by pressing down on this little locking tab and pulling back. Then take your 10 millimeter socket, remove the nut. Be careful not to drop these nuts down in here. And grasp the coil. You can wiggle it a little bit and pull it out. It may be necessary to remove some other connectors just to make it ease of access to getting to the nut on these coils. Now to get to the rearward cylinders, that you're going to definitely find the one on the right side of the vehicle to be the most difficult. This is the left side of the vehicle. It's not too horrible, but it is underneath this cowl and does make it more difficult. I'll pull some of these hoses off here, and this will just give you more room in here to get in there and work. Remember where they go. This cable here goes to the throttle position sensor. The other one that I did remove here goes to the idle air control valve. And see, just by removing that, you can see now you can clearly get to this plug. And anything else that's bolted to that coil, to this stud right here, remember to return it. Like this ground, for instance. Okay, now you do want a good spark plug socket. Don't use just a standard socket or deep socket. And you want one that's got the rubber boot in it. And I like using a extension that actually kind of locks onto the socket. That'll help pull it out. Okay, we'll insert that down in there. There we have it. Now I like to do one cylinder at a time. That way we got less chance of any debris getting in any of these cylinders. Now I got just a simple AutoZone feeler gauge here. Generally they already come pre-gapped. I like to always check. We want to go with 40 thousandths on these. I open it right out of the box. If you can see that, it's right at 40 thousandths. I did check the old one, it was at about 49 thousandths. I've got some anti-seize lube right here. I'm just going to put just a little bit on here. And I like using this stuff, especially when you have aluminum cylinder heads. Alright, now we're ready to put this back in. Always put it in with your fingers. Don't ever stick a wrench on this immediately. And this will reduce any chance of cross threading. Okay, you can feel it went all the way down in there. I do have a torque wrench right here. Factory spec is 20 foot-pounds. Now, before you put your coil back in there, inspect this boot. Make sure there's no cracks anywhere in here. This is not a replaceable part. If it is cracked, you need to replace the entire coil. You do have an O-ring right here, and it is a good idea to take some silicone, like a silicone lubricant, not one that dries like a... There, I'm just using, this is actually made for like a pool O-rings. Works real well. And now you can reinsert the coil like so. Replace the nut. You don't have to tighten this very tight. And reconnect the connector right there. Move to your next cylinder. Now to get to the rearward cylinders, that you're going to definitely find the one on the right side of the vehicle to be the most difficult. This is the left side of the vehicle. It's not too horrible, but it is underneath this cowl and does make it more difficult. I'll pull some of these hoses off here, and this will just give you more room in here to get in there and work. Remember where they go. This cable here goes to the throttle position sensor. The other one that I did remove here goes to the idle air control valve. And see, just by removing that, you can see now you can clearly get to this plug. And anything else that's bolted to that coil, to this stud right here, remember to return it. Like this ground, for instance. Okay, now for the hardest one on this side. The other one on the other side is actually harder than this one. We'll see how that one goes. This is actually really easy to get to. Once you get, all the hoses and wiring out of the way, this isn't bad at all. Now, I don't know how many miles this actually has. Who knows? This could be even the original, because I've seen them go, you know, well over 100,000 miles before a person gets around to changing them. This is around 48 thousandths. This one being 40 thousandths. But I was still getting really good gas mileage. And putting this anti-seize on too acts like a lubricant going in. Just make sure when you're putting these in, you're not cross-threading. Everything goes in, you know, you're able to screw that spark plug in with using your fingers. Don't use a wrench. You definitely don't want to mess this up. Okay, that feels good. Add a little more extension on that. Got my torque wrench. There we go. And back here, don't forget this little ground wire. Go. Now that we got this side completely done, now we can hook everything back up that we disconnected. This particular one is the air temperature sensor. It does technically go down here, but I have moved it to the air silencer box. Now moving to the right hand side of the vehicle, I'm not going to show you these first few since you saw me do it on the other side. That's typically the same. But I'm going to do that very rear one there. I'm going to try to get the best shot I can for you, and that way you get to see how that one is done. Okay, we got a 10mm nut right here. We'll remove that. That is just holding the oil dipstick tube in place. Okay. Kind of just shove that over a little bit. That definitely helps a little bit. And the other thing is this breather tube right here. That's for your PVC valve. Okay, right back here we got the nut for the coil. As you can see, it is back there a ways, way underneath this cowl. Take your 10mm socket, Carefully remove. We got it. And that one also has a ground wire on it. As you can see right there. See, I got the ground wire. It's just very busy on this side of the motor. Push that hose out of the way. There we go. You see, I noticed how I did that. I took the PVC line and shoved it onto this stud that's holding the dipstick tube, and that's actually cleared that up. Give me a pretty good pathway to get to that now. I was able to pull that coil out. There we go. Alright, here's a tool that will probably help you out, especially with situations like back here where you don't get much of a throw with a ratchet. Once you get it broke loose with your ratchet wrench, you can use this here, and it gives you enough to where you can get your hands on there and spin that off of there. I got these at Harbor Freight. They come in 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch drive. They come in handy every once in a while. Okay, and we'll check the gap real quick. Right there, yeah, 40 thousandths, real good. Okay, and we got our anti-seize on there. Now carefully. Yeah, I got it down in there. And this is the one I want to be the most careful on. I'm going to be careful on all of them, really. But, okay, I got the torque wrench on here now. There we go. Okay, now we got that spark plug, the hardest one, installed. You'll probably spend more time on that one than you will the other 3 on this side. Silicone here on the O-ring. If these O-rings are damaged, do replace them. That is the only thing you can actually replace on this coil, other than the coil itself. Okay, now we can return the coil. Alright, all that's left now is just to return any component that you had to remove to get to the spark plugs for like the air filter silencer box here and the air intake tube that you may have had to remove. Make sure you hook everything back up, like the hoses and any other electrical connection that you had to undo. Alright, all that's left now is just fire it up, make sure everything's running good, no cell lights come on. If you do have a cell light come on, make sure you got all your coils plugged back in. There you have it. Not too difficult of a job. Naturally, the cylinder there on the right side, all the way back, is the hardest one. I would allow yourself like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to do this job. Well, thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button down there if you would, and the little bell symbol right next to it. And that way you get notifications of any new videos I got coming out. Right? Thanks.